brands and services to the world through adverts and sponsorship. We also offer latest broadcast equipment for rent, all at affordable prices. Tune in to Acnn TV via any free-to-air decoder with the following installation parameters: Intelsat 20 satellite with tuning frequency 12562 MHz, symbol rate 30 Mbps, orbital position 68.5 degree east, and horizontal polarization. You can also keep in touch with episodes of our programs via these social media platforms. For inquiries, please call 070-3265-6544 or mail us via enquiries@acnntv.com. ACNN, reaching the world with the undiluted Word of God.
You're welcome to the news on the hour on ACNN TV. Now the major stories. Anglican Bishop of the Diocese of Evo, the Right Reverend Innocent Odu, elected as the State Chairman of Rivers State Christian Council of Nigeria, CCN. At the just concluded All Anglican Clergy Conference, Prolocutor and others enjoy being in the program, appreciating the House of Clergy. Plus, U.S. President Joe Biden says the U.S. airlift from Kabul will continue despite a jihadist attack that killed over 90 people, including 13 U.S. service members. Now to the news in details. The Bishop of the Diocese of Evo Anglican Communion, the Right Reverend Innocent Odu, has been elected as the State Chairman of the Rivers State Christian Council of Nigeria, NCC. The election, which took place at the All Saints Cathedral, Rumo Kurusi, has in attendance all the denominations that make up the council, which includes the Anglican Communion, Methodist Church Nigeria, Baptist Church, African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church, Presbyterian Church of Nigeria, Lutheran Church, United Evangelical Church, the First African Church, Salvation Army, and Church of the Lord. In a valedictory address by the outgoing acting chairman, His Grace, the Most Reverend Dr. Agu of the Methodist Church, thanked God Almighty for the day and appreciated all the denominations for the support they gave him during his tenure as the acting chairman. The election had the Right Reverend Odu as chairman, the Right Reverend Marvelous Kalu as Vice Chairman, Sir Bandele Wycliffe as Secretary, and Elder Sekibo Oruye as Assistant Secretary, among others. In an acceptance speech by the newly elected Vice Chairman, the Right Reverend Marvelous Kalu, who spoke on behalf of the Chairman, thanked all the delegates for their enduring moments, patience, and the commitment. He appreciated the past executives for the positive role they played in making the council to remain stronger and more united, and prayed that God will continue to bless everyone. The Bishop of the Diocese of the West and coordinating Bishop of Konam, the Right Reverend Dr. Felix Oji, has admonished Christians in the northern part of Nigeria to continue to preach the gospel despite the persecution they face. Speaking with Nwanyoge Chukwu in an interview, the cleric called for collective fight against Boko Haram.
Christians need to understand that Boko Haram will never be friendly. They hate Christianity, and so we must continue to preach the gospel, must continue to advance the kingdom of God, especially in northern Nigeria. We cannot afford to avoid northern Nigeria. We must Christianize, we must preach the gospel to the Muslims in the south, southeast, southwest. We must ensure that we preach the gospel to them, get them on our side. And thirdly, we must do everything we can to defend women. We cannot agree with them. We must use every power that we have to defend women and children and make sure that they get good education, make sure that we support them in making choices that are good for them and for the society. And of course, it is important to use political means, whether it's local or international means, to make sure that we keep Boko Haram out of Nigeria. And then, of course, we do the usual things we do as Christians. We need to pray. We need to seek the face of God. We do need revival in Nigeria. That is the only thing that will keep Boko Haram from terrorizing Nigeria the way the Taliban is terrorizing Afghanistan.
The House of Clergy has reacted by giving thumbs up to the just concluded All Anglican Clergy Conference at Port Harcourt. While speaking with Acnn TV Charles Philip Wakulam, the Church of Nigeria Prosecutor for the House of Clergy, Venerable Dr. Uswa Saudu, and the POR Venerable Hansen Bernard were happy that though it was torrid planning and executing the programs of the conference, everything went as planned and the resource persons were top-notch.
The conference, obviously, the planning has not been that easy. But we thank God for the grace He granted the National Planning Committee in conjunction with the local organizing committee based here in Port Harcourt. We know there were hitches in the process of the planning. The Lord has helped us. The lessons we learned from this meeting obviously are very, very heart-touching. Looking at the theme of the conference, effective Anglican ministry in the 21st century. It's a century that is very challenging. All the topics discussed obviously have been geared to help the Anglican clergy on how he should be able to work effectively, reaching the needs of members, meeting the needs of the churches, and meeting his own spiritual life, including his family life.
Very successful. Initially we thought it wouldn't hold, but we are happy today it's a reality and a success. The resource persons chosen for this conference, they are all blessings to us, and we thank God for their lives.
Likewise, some priests in attendance pointed out one or two things they will be leaving the program with to their dioceses.
My thinking is that we be able at the end of the day to have it in such a way that beyond this place, clergymen will be able to still look into it, study, and see how we build ourselves.
I've been seriously impacted from the teachings, the various lectures, the ministrations, and it has been a worthwhile program for me.
Especially the revival session. It's awesome. It's wonderful. Many of the time maybe I'm out, I follow it online to even make sure I don't miss any part of it. I'm telling you, it can be better than it is right now.
A lot of teachings ranging from the ministerial expectation of a minister and the canonical obedience, and how we can make our church come alive.
I don't know how to select among the teachings because God packaged a spirit-filled teaching. But I know there's one particular teaching that has struck my heart, the Bible study. It has transformed me as a person that talks about the effective Anglican minister in the 21st century.
The sermon of this morning's Martin, where the guide of the priesthood were listed, it really touched me, and the do's and don'ts of a priest. It reminded me about my calling once again.
The issue of canonical obedience, the bishop who handled it yesterday handled it very well, both from the biblical point of view and from the constitutional point of view, and I enjoyed it and I learned a lot.
And still on the clergy conference, the editor-in-chief of the Anglican Clergy magazine at the just launched magazine of the Church of Nigeria, the Venerable Dr. Nelson Iluno, has encouraged members of the House of Clergy to purchase the newly launched magazine of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, the Anglican Clergy magazine. He made this known immediately after the official launching and dedication of the magazine, which took place at the just concluded All Anglican Clergy Conference held at the Cathedral Church of St. Paul, Diobu, Port Harcourt, Rivers State. According to him, the magazine covers a lot about the church, especially regarding the vision of the primate, which is mission, discipleship, and evangelism.
The issues centers mainly on mission, revival, evangelism, and the vision of the primates. You will see the interview the primate granted Acnn TV on his vision on mission, evangelism, and discipleship. A major part of the primates address at the last standing committee is also in this edition. Please, it's very rich. We are following the standard of a foreign magazine, particularly that of Church of England.
On the state of the nation, an Anglican priest with the Diocese of Abuja, the Venerable Acnn, has frowned at the alleged recruitment of repentant Boko Haram members into the Nigerian military. Speaking with Nwanoge Chukwu in an interview, the clergy stressed that it is dangerous to have such group of people in the military.
How do you ascertain that they have actually repented? How have they repented? It's not just enough to say, I have repented. I'm a repented Boko Haram. Then you recruit them into the Nigerian military. It's a very dangerous trend. And what is happening right now in Afghanistan is a warning to everybody, particularly Nigeria as a nation. We should treat terrorism with the seriousness that it deserves. Terrorists anywhere in the world should not be treated lightly. Those people who say they have repented are terrorists, and they should be treated as such. I do not think that they have actually repented. A lot of things happening in this country are showing us truly that those people who say they have repented have not repented. I think they have a mission in Nigerian military. If they infiltrate Nigerian military and security architecture of this country, then what happened in Afghanistan will be a child's play in this country.
And elsewhere, the National Universities Commission, NUC, has granted full accreditation to some postgraduate and undergraduate programs in Ajayi Crowther University, Oyo. This is as contained in a letter forwarded by the university, the NUC Director of Accreditation, Dr. Mariam Sali. The Commission stated that the approval of the courses followed its 3-day visit to the university in April 2021 to undertake resource accreditation visits where the staff strength and facilities of the programs were assessed before the grant of full accreditation to 2 postgraduate programs in the Faculty of Management, Science and 4 undergraduate programs in Faculty of Education. The accreditation is valid for a period of 5 years, after which the NUC shall revisit the programs for quality control and re-accreditation processes. In his remark, the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Timothy Adebayo, expressed joy while receiving the news of the accreditation, congratulated the 2 faculty and their staff for working hard to earn the NUC full accreditation, promising that the university will do all within its capacity to ensure that the programs maintain the high standard required to earn them accreditation, adding that the university is ready to admit more prospective candidates with the expansion of the academic programs with over 44 fully accredited programs. And still to come, Juventus accept to sell Ronaldo if their demands are made. These and more stories after the break. Please stay tuned.
Crossfire is a program that treats controversial topics on diverse issues surrounding the family, church and society.
Does it mean if a woman now prays with her hair uncovered, God will not honor the prayer?
Should single ladies ask single guys out on a date?
It's not a sign of desperation. It's you knowing what you want and going for it.
Okay.
But you can't tell me that comedy in the church is wrong.
Written by
If you go through our Church of Nigeria hymn now, you will see so many hymns written by Nigerians.
You know, a man,
you have to help them out.
Okay,
Sir, can you stop a bird from flying?
Depending. But we are not instituting, we are forgiven.
No, you have forgiven,
yes.
But that forgiveness amounts to a criminal offense.
How?
Hold on.
That's one. My brother, anybody can bring if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? It matters. So.
No, I'm not saying nobody is destroying any foundation here.
Thank you for staying tuned. For more on our top stories, please visit our website at acnntv.com or our social media platforms on facebook.com or youtube.com/acnntv. And to be up to date with our news and other programs, download the Avo TV app from Google Play Store. And you can also advertise your goods and services on ACNN TV. Moving on, contrary to the clamor for an end to open grazing and the need to adopt modern ranching techniques to curb incessant clashes with farmers, Buhari has insisted that the federal government will reclaim the old grazing roads for free movement of herders. The recommendation to recover the controversial gazette designed in 1963 has raised a growing concern and position of lawyers and citizens. Nwano Ogechukwu was with barrister Ikechukwu Wakama as he threw more light on the issue.
The issue of national grazing has always been a controversial issue, even before the colonial time. Buhari is not a lawyer, so it is understandable that he will not really understand how the laws are applied.
The issue of settling nomadic cattle rears is one which for many years has generated considerable discussion in Nigeria's government circles. Since the grazing law of 1965 was enacted by Livestock Development Project, which has also led to clashes between farmers and herders.
But sometime in 1965, I'm meant to understand, there was a promulgation under the you could move cattle within the northern states from one point of the reserve to the other. Now, this grazing reserve was there as far back as 1965, which was a law that was applicable only in the northern Nigeria.
The Nigerian Land Use Act 1978 is the principal legislation that regulates contemporary land tenure in Nigeria.
Just like the president said that they should go back and trace that particular law in the First Republic, which was fairly between 1960 to 1965. But shortly after, we had a more comprehensive law that deals with land, which is the Land Use Act of 1978. And under that Land Use Act, the Land Use Act has now become a federal law sharing almost the same pedestal with the Constitution, because it is reserved under Section 315 of the Constitution, reserved in such a way that the Land Use Act is to be applied as if it is the Constitution itself that is applying.
To curb incessant clashes with farmers, Buhari has insisted that the federal government will reclaim the old grazing routes for free movement of herders.
But what the Land Use Act has done is that the Land Use Act has vested all lands in the states, vested it on the governor. So you cannot be talking about land at the federal level without involving the state governments. Because the only land the federal government can control is land within the Federal Capital Territory. But any land outside Federal Capital Territory does not fall within the purview of the federal government. So the difficulty in the directive of the president is that it can no longer be applicable.
Despite the president's announcement, most state governors from the southern part of Nigeria still insist on bans on open grazing.
The government of today has failed to separate the business of grazing from the national business. And in my own opinion, the business of grazing is purely a private-driven business. It is a private entity driven by individuals that is basically meant for profits. The federal government needs to understand that there is a difference between grazing and providing a national policy on food.
Nwanne Ogechukwu, ACNN News.
Thank you, Ogechukwu, for that report. Vice President Yemi Osibanjo has cautioned against Nigerians' breakup. Osibanjo said Nigeria will lose more if the country break up. The Vice President, who spoke at the National Social Cohesion Dialogue in Abuja, said there are more opportunities for prosperity if Nigeria remains united. He expressed hope that the country will remain united despite the activities of those calling for secession. Nigerians like Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, and Sunday Igboho, Yoruba Nation freedom fighter, have been agitating for Nigeria's breakup. While Kanu is under the custody agreement of the Department of State Services, DSS, Igboho is held by security operatives in Benin Republic. Ohaneze Youth Council, OYC, an Igbo socio-cultural organization, has called out President Muhammadu Buhari-led presidency over the deteriorating security in the country. The group warned the Nigerian presidency on the impending danger and crisis it will plunge Nigeria into, stating that a national disaster looks inevitable. The Igbo Amaka-led Ohaneze Youth Council gave the warning on the heels of the attack on Nigeria Defense Academy by gunmen and was contained in a release said to newsmen. The Igbo organization regretted the unwarranted attack on the facility and personnel of the nation's security agencies and further alleged that the attack at the Nigeria Defense Academy was a calculated conspiracy by some Aso Rock cabals who are hell-bent on the implementation of an agenda in Nigeria. OYC also revealed that no one can have access to such a secured and exclusive environment without being in connection and contact with some political key actors in Aso Rock and other security agents in the Security Department of Nigeria government. Outside the shores of Nigeria, U.S. President Biden says the U.S. airlift from Kabul will continue despite a jihadist attack that killed over 90 people, including 13 U.S. service members. Mr. Biden vowed to complete the mission, saying they will not be deterred by terrorists, and also vowed to hunt down the perpetrators. Mr. Biden said the troops who had died were heroes and were on a selfless mission to save the lives of others. Meanwhile, according to the head of U.S. Central Command, General Frank McKenzie, 13 U.S. troops were among those killed. The deaths mark the first U.S. military casualties in Afghanistan since February 2020. General Frank McKenzie said the threat from RSK remained high and U.S. forces were working with Taliban to try to stop further attacks and that the Taliban had already prevented many. But the attack is likely to significantly complicate the evacuation effort ahead of the 31st August deadline, as more than 100,000 people have been evacuated from Afghanistan, which fell to the Taliban on 15 August. And now to sport. Juventus have told Cristiano Ronaldo they are willing to sell him this summer, but only on their terms. Portugal forward Ronaldo, 36, has but still a year left on his contract. His future has been the subject of increasing scrutiny, and he was completely left out of the starting line-up for the club's opening Serie A match with Udinese. Judge Jorge Mendes, Ronaldo's agent, has spoken to several major European clubs about potentially signing him, including Manchester City and Paris Saint-Germain. Mendes was told all situations remain possible for Ronaldo, but that Juventus would not sanction the departure of a player they signed for £99.2 million 3 years ago if there wasn't any transfer fee involved. A quick recap of the major story. Anglican Bishop of the Diocese of Evo, the Right Reverend Innocent Odu, elected as the State Chairman of the Rivers State Christian Council of Nigeria, CCN. At the just concluded All Anglican Clergy Conference, prolocutor and others enjoy being in the program, appreciating the House of Clergy. Plus, U.S. President Joe Biden says the U.S. airlift from Kabul will continue despite a jihadist attack that killed over 90 people, including 13 U.S. service members. And that is it on the news on the hour. Thanks for watching. I am Rachel Ibu.